Hello everyone, my name is AZZATRU, how are you, and welcome to another Star Wars Battlefront 2 video of mine. And in this video I am going to be going through the heroes I use most in Battlefront 2 and the star card setups I tend to stick with. I'll be giving you my reasons behind my choices, why I like the characters and such, because in the last month or so I've seen a rise in comments on my videos asking for a video showcasing what heroes I like to use, what are my star card setups, because there are a lot of people that have subscribed to my channel in recent times that are new to the game. You know, the game has seen a bit of a resurgence in terms of new players since the Clone Wars announcement at EA Play, and I thought it'd be a good time to try and help some of you new players, or some of you that just want to try new heroes, new star card setups that have been playing the game for several months now. I do enjoy playing as all the heroes and villains in the game, but I'm going to stick with the ones I like the most and use the most often in this video. And I just want to mention, these star card setups are pretty much just for Heroes vs Villains and Hero Showdown. They're not tailored towards Galactic Assault, purely because I don't really play Galactic Assault as much with heroes. I mainly focus on Heroes vs Villains, and to be honest, that is a completely separate video because you can have star card setups specifically for Galactic Assault that work really well in Galactic Assault but not in Heroes vs Villains, and vice versa. So this is specifically for the best outcome in Heroes vs Villains. But let's kick things off with the Sith Lord himself, Darth Vader. And as you can see with Darth Vader, I have every star card in epic rarity. I've been using all of them, and the first one I would recommend using is bonus health. So at its common and uncommon rarities, 1575 isn't a massive deal. You know, I wouldn't recommend using one star card slot on this straight away. I would want to get it to rare or epic when it's 100 or 150, because Vader has a lot of health, and when you add an extra 100 or 150 on top of it, he's fantastic. He will survive so many battles. You know, he will be the last one standing if you do block, you do attack, you use your abilities to your advantage. He will outlive basically every hero. The second star card is There Is No Escape, and his lightsaber thrower epic rarity will go an extra 50%, which is quite far. And this really works when there is a lot of open maps against blaster heroes, because at the end of the day they have the advantage of the range. They can use their blasters against you, whereas all you can do is sort of evade and block. But if you get within a decent range, you can throw that lightsaber, put them off, it's useful. For the third star card, I use Last Gasp. And in Heroes vs Villains, you can typically find 2 or 3 heroes together because they're protecting a target. And if you do get lucky enough to find 2 together and you use your choking ability, if you get 2 or more in one grab, you will deal 50% more damage with the epic rarity card, and you even do 20% at its lowest with the common card, which is still quite high to be honest. So if you play Heroes vs Villains a lot, this is definitely one to be using. In Hero Showdown, I wouldn't really recommend using it because people typically split up when they're struggling instead of sticking together, and you know, you could catch them off guard, but I would stick to using this in Heroes vs Villains. Next up, I have Han Solo, and he's basically all maxed out in epics, minus 2 cards as well. There are basically those 2 I just don't use at all. I've used a couple of times, didn't feel the need for them at all in Heroes vs Villains. I don't find them useful. The first star card I use is Sharpshooter's Calm, and at epic rarity it does 25% less reduction per shot. And I feel like without this card, it's not a very useful ability, because if you land a lot of shots using this ability and you're constantly firing, it makes it last a lot longer, and overall is a really useful ability, especially in close quarters situations, because you can deal massive amounts of damage, especially to the head of an opponent. You can take them out really quickly if you are accurate, and this just allows you to potentially take out or damage a second enemy close by. The second star card I go with is Airburst, because I find sticking a detonite charge onto a surface in Heroes vs Villains pointless. It's because how fast the game mode plays. If you just stick it somewhere, it's probably going to be forgotten about, and you don't know where enemies are going to be. Like, they're probably going to be the opposite side of the map. So if you throw this at someone like Boba Fett that's flying and detonate in the air, you do a 20% extra damage increase. Even 10% is pretty decent at its lowest form. So I would totally use this straight away, because if you just keep throwing those detonite charges into the air, letting them drop where you know there is someone, you will blow them up and you'll deal 20% extra damage, a minimum of 10% extra, which is always good. You'll knock them back, and you may even make them fall off a platform if you're on a map like Kashyyyk. And the third and final star card for Han is Sharpshooting Frenzy, because at its height, at 40% for epic rarity, it will allow you to use this ability far more often and deal so much more damage. Pair it with Sharpshooter's Calm, which was the other star card. You've got a great combo for this ability. Now let's move on to Iden, and I feel like Iden is one of the more underused characters, because she was really OP a few months ago, and then she did get nerfed quite a bit, but as you can see, I've pretty much got her maxed out, and for me, alternative methods in Heroes vs Villains is a must-have. It increases the frequency of her TL50 alternate fire by 25%, and for me, alternate fire is the most important way of using Iden in Heroes vs Villains, because it deals the most damage, it allows you to go quite at range, you don't have to be accurate, it does a plenty splash damage, and it really throws enemies off. The next star card is Acquiring Targets, and the stun droid will have an increased area of effect when searching for viable targets, 40% at its height. Now this is particularly good on large maps when, you know, Iden's a little bit slower than a lot of the other heroes, such as Rey and Luke, of course. She just can't keep up with them. So if they're running away, slam this down, you get an extra 40% searching radius, which is very, very good, because it means you may just catch that hero that's running away, or you're chasing down, you can stun them and then completely take them out. It's just one of those that works really, really well on the larger maps. And if you pair this with the next star card, Friend in Battle, you'll regain 30 extra health when you stun a standard soldier, but when you stun an enemy, it's even more. And at its rarity, it's 70, which is very, very good. I found myself in situations where I've been beat up so many times, I'm really low on health, I activate this, I get that stun, and I get that little bit of health boost I need to carry on a little bit longer. Now let's move on to Luke. So Luke Skywalker is one of my favourite characters of all time, and using Epicenter as a star card is very, very fun. So Repulse will deal bonus damage to targets standing within half of its radius. Now, there is a danger of taking more damage when you do get up close and personal with enemies, but most of the time, I've not really seen that. If you do it really, really quickly, you're on the ball and you get close to them, activate it, you do an extra 40 damage, which is very useful, especially on enemies that are slightly weak. You know, it's just one step closer to getting them taken out from the game. You use Repulse a lot, so why not allow it to do extra damage? The next star card is Stronger Push, and for me, Push is more of a defensive move. It's more about pushing them away so you can get away or regain some health, because at epic rarity, it will push them back 100 extra %. So instead of just a little bit of a pushback, you can push them double what you just did. And this is why I love this star card, because it means you can even try and push them further off the map if you want to as well. There's more of a chance you'll get them over the edge of a platform. The next star card is Strong Repulse, and I pair this with Epicenter because it will have an increased area of an effect. So at its epic rarity, it will do 30% extra area with Repulse, which is good. It's not loads, but it's a decent amount. And when you pair it with Epicenter, that half radius gets a little bit bigger, like 15% bigger. So you do have that little bit of more of a window to dealing more damage with the Repulse ability. Now let's talk about Rey. So as you can see, I've pretty much maxed out Rey as well, -1 star card, which I don't find very useful. I've changed Rey's star cards a lot over time because she definitely changes a lot with the gameplay changes. Street Fighter is really useful now because of the brand new changes DICE made to how the stamina works in the game. Stamina is a massive factor since the July update and needs to be conserved more. Well, when you're a lightsaber hero, most of your time is spent attacking people with lightsabers, and using this star card allows for Rey to drain less stamina, 15% to epic rarity, which is a nice amount when using lightsaber swings. So it means you don't have to be as cautious and you can definitely go more in an attacking mood, whereas some villains may struggle with their stamina. One of my favourite star cards for heroes is Deep Mind. So your mind trick ability has a longer duration on targets that are revealed by Insight. Insight, for me, I used to use some star cards where it would increase its radius, but I don't do that anymore because on small maps like Heroes vs Villains, there's no point. You always know at least where one target is pretty much all time because they are the target, whereas the other three are sort of going to be in near proximity. If you activate Insight, even when it's at its smallest radius, activate Mind Trick, and then those revealed will get an extra 30% length of Mind Trick, which is very, very good. I think that Mind Trick is very, very useful, and newer players just don't know what to do when they do get mind controlled. The third and final star card is another favourite star card of mine. So when an enemy is immobilized, like for example by Chewie's stun grenade, or even your own Jedi mind trick ability, you will deal 15% more damage at epic rarity, whatever attack you use. So whether it be the dash strike, whether it be a lightsaber attack, you'll deal extra damage based on the immobilized enemies. So I would recommend using the Jedi mind trick and then going straight in for the kill, because it means you're doing extra damage with every single hit. Now let's move on to Yoda, and his third star card is one I like a lot. So his unleashed minimum size is 25% larger with the epic rarity. So it just increases the size, which, as we know from other star cards, is a very good thing. And the second star card I go with is Opposing the Dark Side. The reason I chose this is because I've learned that with Yoda, because of his size, he just doesn't do very well in medium attacks. He's very, very close quarters. He's probably the most close quarters hero in the game, and you're mainly using his blocking ability and lightsaber attack to defeat enemies. So it makes perfect sense to get a 16 extra bonus damage with each lightsaber hit, because it's against heroes in this game. When you're fighting against Vader, who may have like 1,000 health, it's very useful. And to contrast that, I use Jedi Mentor, because you're outputting more damage, but with this one, with epic rarity, you receive 8% less damage. So with every lightsaber hit you're giving out, you're dealing more damage, and every time you're being hit, you're taking 8% less damage as well. So you're also saving yourself a little bit more health whilst dealing more damage, and this is what I found to be a good combination. And now let's talk about the final hero, which I think is one of the most underrated heroes in the game. For some reason, people just don't like Finn, but I feel like they just don't understand his playstyle. He's more of a team player. His damage per second is really, really high. He has great range. He has good abilities. He just does a lot of damage, and he may not necessarily get those kills. He will help the team out considerably in Heroes vs Villains, Hero Showdown, and Galactic Assault. When you're using Deadeye against some weaker heroes, using the star card Stay Calm will allow you, if you do get that elimination, 40% extra active time. It will extend its duration by 40%, which is really, really good. And if you get a couple of kills, then you're just going to keep using Deadeye until you die. I know I said Finn might not get the kills, but he will close out a lot of kills. So, you know, for example, if Vader's killed a couple of your teammates and he's heavily damaged, Finn is going to be there. He is able to get in from range, and never going back will help that out. So for every enemy Finn does defeat with undercover team active, it will extend its duration. For me, This ability, Undercover Team, is fantastic. It's really, really good, and if you can land a couple of headshots, you can take out enemies very, very quickly. It's the most efficient way of killing people with Finn, and you can take out people like Kylo and Maul very, very quickly with this ability. You can definitely get a couple of kills. I wouldn't say you'd be able to finish off people like Vader, although I have done that a couple of times in the past, but some of the stronger heroes you are able to do with that ability active, and this just will help it even more. And this is just a nice quality of life improvement for Finn, raised to do one thing. So this will increase the lock-on radius for Deadeye by 25% in epic rarity, which is a nice amount because it means you don't have to be so accurate. You can just concentrate on looking at someone and firing. You don't have to be center on someone, and it's just a very good star card because if you're trying to track someone like Boba Fett that's flying around the map very quickly, you don't have to be as accurate, and it just allows you to get that extra damage or kill you may have missed out on if you was needing to be a bit more accurate. Thank you very much for watching. That is the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop a like and comment below your thoughts on what I've said and what heroes you like to use in the comment section below. Has it helped you? Let me know, I'd be really interested. Check out any of the 2 previous videos on screen if you did miss them, and I shall see you all in my next Star Wars Battlefront 2 video. Goodbye.